Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. We want to go ahead and let more of our attendees enter. So please, in the chat, you can post where you're joining us from. Start in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the 2025 National University Speakers Series and our July edition. My name is Dr. Nancy Rowland Heinrich, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Vice President of Community Engagement at National University. I'm proud to be the founder and host of our NU Speaker Series. And today we certainly appreciate everyone joining us for the webinar, whether you're a student, an alum, faculty, staff, or community member. The NU Speaker Series is always open to anyone, and we're always interested in having a broader level of participants. Since the inception of our speaker series in 2020, we have held more than 50 episodes with wonderful speakers on a wide variety of subjects. Most recently, we were given a silver award by the CASE organization for higher education for our speaker series, which was a really nice accolade. Let me just share a little bit about National University. We were founded in 1971 by a retired U.S. Navy captain, Dr. David Chigos. The university has a very rich history of providing accessible and relevant higher ed opportunities to meet the needs of non-traditional working and military students. Currently, almost 50% of our undergraduate students are military affiliated. Today, the university serves more than 50,000 academic students, 80,000 non-academic students in various certificate programs, and these students are enrolled in more than 125 degree programs. We have an impressive alumni network, which just reached 249,000 graduates. So that's just an amazing success since our founding in 1971. But today, you're here to explore confident communications at every level. And I think that you will find this topic very relevant regardless of what role you're in and at what level. I'm very pleased to have two amazing professionals and community leaders that I work with frequently in the San Diego region that will be joining tonight's NU Speaker Series. Today's presenter is the amazing Margie Newman-Say. And we also have the very talented Adara Agansaju as our moderator. I'd like to share a little more about Margie, who is an award-winning communicator and the founding partner of Intessa Communications Group. You will pick up her Southern charm as she is a native of Nashville, Tennessee. She is a proud alumna from Auburn. She is described as being very charismatic, which is so true. I've seen her in action in the community. She's an in-demand leader, public speaker, event MC, and podcast guest. Margie's very decorated professional career has included public, private, government, and nonprofit entities. Her experience has varied from serving as a press aide to former Tennessee Governor Bredesen, as well as media relations manager for the Pew Charitable Trust in DC. Margie is also very active in her volunteer work in the community and has served on numerous boards, including being the immediate past president of the YMCA Board of San Diego. And she is currently serving on boards at Sharp Healthcare, Downtown San Diego Partnerships, and La Jolla Country Day School. She has received many accolades from the San Diego community for her professional accomplishments, including being recognized as a CEO of the Year for the San Diego Business Journal. Following today's presentation, I am thrilled to have an excellent moderator. Adara will be joining us, and she is the founder of the Entourage Group and is a well-known community leader herself. Adara also has expertise on this particular topic and is the author of the book, The Confidence Talk. She specializes in change management, leadership development, and shaping culture in organizations. So following the presentation and a dialogue between Adara and Margie, we will open it up for Q&A. So please enter any of your questions in the Q&A section, and we will, move forward with our topic. So we have a very dynamic duo, and you will find that Margie has confidence just exuding from her being. And she will now share how you can gain that same sense of confidence from whatever role or position you are in. Audience, I hope you enjoy today's presentation and topic and the following discussion between Margie and Adara, as well as the questions that we'll be addressing from our audience. Margie, the stage is yours.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction. It's just so exciting to have Adara here. Nancy, thanks for asking me to be here, and for Heather and for Lindsay for all of their hard work. There's a lot of you here, and we're going to have a great conversation. I touched a button I shouldn't have, and so now I'm not sharing my screen. I'm going to try to redo that. I guess Adara is the one who I can see. Adara, are we good? We're happy. All right. Hey, everybody. I did see, the problem was I was looking at the chat. There's a lot of you I know personally, names I haven't seen in a long time, people I used to work with. And then I got excited and tried to touch, like there's a person from Nashville, got very excited, and I touched the button and it all went away. Anyways, we're back. So the accent, yes, Nashville. Honored to be with you today. I'm Margie Newman-Tsai. Hello to, I think, my husband and my in-laws who are listening as they eat dinner. Really excited that you've chosen this time for you to join us. I am founding partner of a communications firm called Intessa Communications Group. And what we do is we help leaders and organizations and people on their different versions of their career journey communicate and advocate with confidence. That's the bottom line. And so when Nancy said, who do you want to moderate this? I immediately said Adara, because as you will see, Adara's work tracks on a very similar line, and you're gonna leave here with some confidence. I'll tell you that. I want to show you my people. These are my people. And I can't separate, and I don't think anyone should, your people and your village from the work you do. You're one human, one brain, one everything. These are my people. We are a blended family. I've got two kiddos that I made and two that I didn't made, but I love them like I do. And we are really fortunate to have a really cool situation. But this one is my favorite child. Her name is Dolly Rose. Just look at her. Okay, that's enough. It's not ever enough, but Intessa Communications Group, we are women owned, always have been, very proud of that. And we are headquartered here in San Diego, though we help folks all over the state of California and around the country in times of opportunity, challenge, and crisis. We have clients that you probably have heard of. You'll recognize some of these logos. This is a partial client list. We are really, really proud of the work we do and the people we do it for. We're very selective about who we serve, and we're really honored to serve these people and many more. If you had told me in 2012 when I started this company that this would be a partial client list, there would have been part of me that would not have believed you, because this is a big deal. Also, I knew I could do it. I'd be like, yeah, but really? It was a slog. It was not always easy. There were always people telling me that I was not going to succeed. And I think a lot of you will know what that's like, right? I was a mom for a lot of my journey, a single mom starting a business in a town where I didn't know anybody. It looked like this. This is Margie in 2012 signing a lease, taking keys, having a baby. So that would be two babies by then. This is what work looks like, right? And again, many of you on this call, I'm sure identify with this. You're working, all you've eaten is this thing of peanuts in this picture, and you've got a baby, and you're just praying that baby stays asleep long enough for you to get this proposal done. That's it. Like, that's what it's about. Every single day waking up and going, well, what can I do to advance my goal? And sometimes you only see the success when people come and talk to you. And my journey, I feel like, is a really important thing to say. It wasn't always the sexy stuff. It looked like this. It looked like strapping a baby onto you, and going to an event with two governors and a Dolly Parton. Like, you're just doing the best you can. And you say, yes, I can come to this, and gotta bring my baby. And somebody's got to hold that baby for this group picture. It's that balance of, I know I'm excellent and life is happening. And how do I balance it all? I would say most of us don't have a very good balance because it ebbs and flows. And that's okay. We're doing our best. We're making our choices. We're working for balance, right? Even if we don't always achieve it. When you're starting out to achieve those goals, sometimes your world's going to look a little bit like, I got to strap a baby on me and I got to go. And then in 2015, there was a shift. And the reason I want to tell you about this shift is because I want you to apply it to what this could mean for you. The whole point of this conversation is you can be a leader, you can communicate with confidence, regardless of your title or role. Are you military and you're transitioning careers? Yay. Are you a single mom? Excellent. Are you working and trying to get your doctorate at night? Amazing. Whatever your journey is, there's probably a turning point moment for you. And this was mine. And I want you to think about, if you've already had it, what did you do? And if you're looking for it, be on the lookout. So I chose to exit a toxic relationship. Now, this is important because, like I said before, I showed you my family to talk about communicating with confidence. It's because you're one human. You have one brain. You have one heart. You have one soul. And if something is off over here, you can't be whole over here. And so what I hope you see from these things I'm going to show you is they all involve choices I made and actions I took. And it didn't matter my title when I did it. For you, a toxic relationship might be a toxic work environment. It might be a spouse. It might be a sister. It might be a mother. It might be a friend. You cannot be whole if someone is constantly bringing your soul down. And if it is safe for you to exit that relationship or work environment, that is something that helped me. I got a tattoo. I include this in here because I just was really excited about it. It was a big deal for me. It was an action I took, something I always wanted to do, and I was brave enough to do it. I participated in Lead San Diego Impact. Now, I know a lot of you are from different cities, and that's wonderful. I mean, the chat's going nuts over there. There's 163 of you in here. There are a lot of cities going on. Every major city I know has a LEAD program. Leadership Nashville, Leadership Memphis, Leadership Sacramento, Lead San Diego. For me, this program helped me understand the city I lived in because, not from here, right? I'm from Nashville, had lived in DC, didn't know San Diego. How am I going to serve the people in this town if I don't know this town? That's on me. So I thought, okay, where can I find a place to learn about it and to meet friends? Like, I needed people, I needed friends. And then I identified a business partner in 2015. Now, she didn't start till 2016. And if she's watching, I put that there so she checks my math. But I identified and knew there was a path forward with a business partner, someone to join me in this entrepreneurial journey. And what I want you to think about is, what are those things? Those things are, I came out of isolation. And it's a choice that I made to take action, which is leadership, and to communicate with confidence what I needed and then go do it. I came out of isolation. If we had more time, I would talk more about weak ties and strong ties and the data. And some of you are, higher ed people probably know this. There's lots of data on what humans need. Humans need weak ties. We love it. It's good for our soul. When we walk into a Starbucks or a local coffee shop, or to, the postman comes to our door, that they know our name, or that they know our order, that they always slide you the same beer you get at the bar. Those are weak ties, but they are very important for us as humans. I had so many weak ties, so many, because I'm an extrovert and I'll talk to anybody. But I didn't have strong ties. And not my business and my soul did not start to soar until I took action to strengthen the ties. And I say that because, again, that's on me. So I want you to think about what that is, because that was my turning point. And now, I started this, I did that. I have a story about how people said, call me when you need a real job. I. Now it's we. We are flourishing. I know one of my YMCA, Dan, I saw you on there. One of my YMCA guys, this is Dan in the picture, is on here right now. I am out there. I'm giving back to my community. We're winning awards together. We've got this amazing leadership team that you see this group picture of. We have these amazing other women who've joined us. We have a new guy who's starting in a few weeks. There's a we. And I could not have achieved the business goals I'm achieving and have the confidence to do the work I'm doing if I didn't have these people in my life. There is no possible way. So I would encourage you to do that. If you want to hear more about my story in particular, then this is a podcast. Hopefully this QR code works. I got a confession to make. I hate QR codes. And when they first came out, I told a friend, and just in case he's listening, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and these will not end. These will not last. This is so stupid. And here we are. They've taken over the world. And I use them in every presentation. So I just want to admit that vulnerability. If any of these links are not working for you, or if you're listening as you're cooking or listening as you're driving, welcome. We're glad you're here. We can provide you these later. Okay, enough about me. I want to talk about you. So I was asking my 13-year-old, I showed her all this. She's wise beyond her years. And I was like, hey, what am I missing? And she said, well, my French teacher says that when we set an intention for what we're learning, we learn better. So I was like, okay, let's go. So I would ask you to set your intention. You're cooking, you're listening, you're watching, you're driving down the road, you're walking your dog. Why are you listening? Why did you tune in? 168 of you. Why? So each one of you, why did you tune in? What are you hoping to get? What are you going to do with what you're learning? What is your intention for what you're learning today? And the confidence that Adara and I want to help cultivate in you. So I'm going to give it 5 seconds. Everybody think about it. Okay. Good job. And Susie, if you're listening, I told you I would do it. All right. So I want to talk about why the royal we is here. We, Adara and I, and National, thank you so much for having us, have told you this is what we are going to do. This is the agreement we're making, that you think you've signed up for a place where you're going to hear about how you can lead and communicate with confidence. And no matter your title or role, and I mean that, y'all. I mean that. And we, Adara and I, are going to give you practical strategies for showing up with clarity. And you're going to walk away with tools. So these are all of our agreements. And then you have your personal intention. So let's get into it. Spoiler alert, in case any of you are like, okay, baby's crying, got to go. Leadership is action. Leadership is action. And confident communication is a mindset. Okay, so these are two things that no one can do for you and no one can take away from you, most importantly. These are both learned skills, so nobody, and don't even throw me a Steve Jobs reference or a Ronald Reagan reference if you're older, or anybody you think communicates well now. None of these people were born good communicators. I was not born good communicators. I'm an excellent communicator because I grew up in professional theater. I was on a stage every single day. So it's just practice. That's all it is. You can do it. You have to put in the work. Leadership is action. You're taking action just by showing up right now. And both depend on that you actually show up and how you show up. So if you show up in a, well, that's not my title or that's not my job, then you're not going to show up as a leader or communicate with confidence, right? Because you've got those blocks there. If you show up in a leadership tone and body language and confidence, people are going to think you are a leader, and it does not matter your title or how many years you've been on the job. So this is a real important slide, and I'm sorry for those of you who can't see it because it is my favorite picture of Beyonce I've ever seen. So there are two ways one can be a leader. In title, such as Queen Bee. She's a literal queen. In her title, in the way people view her, in the businesses she runs, in every way, she is on paper and in title a leader, right? Queen Bee. Gosh, isn't that cool? I want that out. I would wear it. I would wear it. Anyways, then there's the leader and how you show up. So very few of us are going to become Beyonce. If you do, please reference me in this talk and Adara when you win all your awards. But most of us are going to show up, roll up our sleeves, and get our hands dirty. These are leaders. These two images, leadership. It'd be cool if one day you achieve whatever title you're looking for, so you can put on your lion dress, and you also are a person who rolls up your sleeves and shows up. But you may never, ever get a fancy title. You are a leader. Maybe you don't even want that fancy title. You just want to show up and lead and communicate with confidence. Get your hands dirty is the biggest thing. Take action. That is leadership. Okay, bye to my beautiful picture of Beyonce. We're going to listen to about 20 seconds of this. We're going to cross our fingers in this moment and hope it starts in the right place. This is a podcast I did with Dr. Stephen Jones. Honored to be on his podcast. This QR code, see, it's another one, will take you to the full podcast. He has many great leaders on there. And his is called The Leader Shift, which is such a fun name, podcast. We're going to listen to 20 seconds to tee up what we're going to talk about. Fingers crossed.
Start off with, what is your passion for leadership?
Oh, I have a passion for leadership because you don't have to have a title for it. You don't have to have as much lived experience as you might think you do for it. It's something that you can put out into the world. It's an energy, it's how you show up. And I wish more people knew that they don't have to wait till later in their career or wait for some big title or moment to show leadership. You can show up in any room at any time and lead.
Yes, very good.
So there's an hour of that, and I'm not going to make you sit all through it. But it's a good hour. So if you want more on that, again, if you couldn't catch the code, we can drop those in either the chat or I'm sure Heather and team can get those to you in a recap form of some sort. But there is a whole, like literally an entire hour of us talking about a lot of the stuff you're going to hear here. The other thing I want to go through is if you show up and do these things, then you are a leader. And again, you don't need a title for this. You could be 10 years old. You could be 80 years old. It doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your title. I don't care if this is your first job out of years in the military. It doesn't matter because you can choose to show up like this. So we're going to go through these. I was going to talk for about 20 minutes and I'm getting close to it. So I'm going to go through these maybe a little faster than I normally would because I want to make sure we have discussion. But we're going to build trust. First and foremost, if you show up and build trust, there's two forms. There's ethics. Do I trust you? Like, do I trust you with my keys and my kid and my car? Okay. Also, are you reliable? Can I trust you at your word, but can I rely on you to do things? Building trust is the cornerstone of all confidence and leadership building. Anyone can do that. Not enough people do. Provide context. This is another one. You've probably been in meetings and the actual person in charge will say something and then everyone will kind of look over here to this human for kind of like, cool, is that? It's because that is probably the person who most often provides context. That person is probably the one who takes the time to explain things, to talk about, wait, do you have the team together? Does everyone have what they need? That person is probably may not be the actual leader in title, but they're the one everybody knows gets everything done and tells them what's going on. That can be you. Care deeply. There's a book that we'll talk about later, Radical Candor. The cornerstone of any frank conversation, whether you're providing context or offering praise or imparting guidance down here, is do you care about these people in the work? You don't have to have a crazy role or a fancy title to care deeply about the people you work with and the work you're doing and your own work, right? As a whole, the work you're doing and your own work. Take action. That has also been a theme. You're doing it just by showing up tonight. So good on you. And taking action is part of leadership. The worst is when people in leadership positions will just complain about something and they won't do anything about it. That's not leadership, right? So anybody, regardless of title, can go, you know what? Here is a need. I'm going to take steps to solve it. Offer praise, impart guidance, these things that build rapport in the team and draw and hold boundaries. We are so fortunate to have Idara as our moderator. This is her bread and butter. You know, if you're a person or a team who needs that kind of coaching and support on these things that build confidence and build other people's confidence in you, she's your girl. So if you show up and do these things, then congratulations, you are a leader. And you'll have to sometimes give yourself a pep talk because you may be the only one in the room doing this. And maybe you're not getting paid the salary that the boss's boss's boss who should be doing it is. But these are choices you're making to show up. And that will pay off in the long run. So how do you communicate like a leader? So again, this would be much longer if we had more time, but we normally do hours long workshops in these things. But this is a slide, and if you're driving or cooking, it says humans are inherently selfish. That is why communicating well is hard. So like, let's say you're going to show up as a leader and you're going to roll up your sleeves, you're going to take action, but you're struggling to communicate. Why is that? It's because humans are wired as a species to figure out if things are going to hurt them or benefit them. And so the second you start talking or asking someone for someone, this is subconsciously what they're thinking. What's in it for me? And how does it benefit or does it harm me? So if you aren't listening to the humans around you or realizing how you're showing up, your tone, your action, they're automatically going to block you out. So remember that humans, including me, including you, we are all inherently selfish. So you always want to take the time to figure out what makes these people tick. And then you want to adapt. And again, that's a sign of a leader when you can read the room like that. Here's another reason it's so hard. I can't see the chat, and if I touch it, everything's going to go away. So don't put it, like, wait a few seconds before you put it in the chat. Like, just give me a few seconds. Communication is not what we say, it's what they hear, right? So you're going to say a thing, but somebody else is going to hear something different. And this is why. I want you to think, what do you see? What do you see? Sorry if you're driving, I can't tell you what it is yet. Okay, now you can put it in the chat. Some of you will see a duck. Some of you will see a rabbit. And some of you will think the duck people are crazy. And some of you are like, there is no rabbit. And then some of you are like, it is a duck rabbit. And I don't know which one to talk about first, right? This is why communication is hard. So even if you're showing up as a leader, and it's why my company's in business, right? You can show up and still struggle to communicate. And that's why this is a learned skill. And that's why you have to be all about self-awareness and professional development. Always reading, always listening, always attending these like you're doing, always talking to your colleagues. Self-awareness is in your control. It's how you show up. And if you learn how to throttle that and be, a friend of mine once said, you want to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. If you can be that thermostat, that is leadership, and that's going to give you confidence, and it's going to give other people confidence in you. And you do not need a fancy title for that. Professional development, I mean, I just can't say it enough. Always be learning, always be reading, always be listening. More QR codes, because this is who I am now. So I love a bit of optimism with Simon Sinek. This is called Super Communicators, this literal one. It is a great one if you want to hear about how communications is not a skill you're born with. It is a learned skill, and you need that boost. This is the one for you. This middle one, I can't even read it because my stuff is covered. 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation. That's a TED Talk that's gotten a bajillion views. It's just a really good one if interpersonal is what challenges you. And then on speaking well, maybe you're a little more advanced. Maybe you are a literal professional communicator. We are always all learning. On speaking well is a great one for how to write better talking points, a better speech. Also how to structure your thoughts if you're just looking for a little bit more advanced topic. Also work life with Adam Grant. Love me some Adam Grant. He's in that Brene Brown sphere of folks. This one specifically, and I don't know why I don't have it written on here, but this one is where he's taken questions about the intergenerational divides and how to communicate with different generations in the workplace. So fun, so good. And then Radical Candor. This is one that everyone at Intessa is reading at this moment. And this one is really about not indexing to what the author calls ruinous empathy, right? Really being clear and candid with what you need and how to do your best work and how to manage your employees. It's an awesome read, or the audiobook. And so then I'm going to touch, and I know Adara's probably like, what happened to 20 minutes? I would like Adara, if you don't mind coming on back in here. When I do, hey, Adara and I love each other. I just need y'all to know. We're glad that 170, 80 y'all are here, but if none of you had showed up, it'd just be me and Adara talking to each other. Adara literally wrote a book on this. So this slide, look, isn't she cute? I'm gonna
Oh,
get
you
to
made
that
the
in a minute.
picture move too.
A picture moved,
Thank
right?
you.
Okay, so she literally wrote a book on it. We'll get there in a minute. But these are things that I believe Adara and I both would agree that the love is in these details. That again, don't wait for someone else to do this for you.
Mhm.
You want to manage up. Like if you say my boss doesn't know what I do and I'm never going to advance, write a memo. Schedule a meeting with your boss every Friday and tell that human what you do and what you've done and show up with an agenda. If your manager's not giving you what you need, manage up, sometimes manage over to colleagues. That is a very big deal. And I've been doing that since my 20s because I never thought anyone understood what I was doing. So I was going to teach them because I was doing great stuff and you need to know. I want to let Adara take the suit up. There's a whole chapter in her book on it. Ditch the office cardigan as my lingo because I have a longer story about someone who thought I was the intern when I owned the company. But continue, Adara, suit up.
I love the when I heard the cardigan story, that it still makes me chuckle, but it helps. It gives you a visual.
Yes.
Now, in the book, I'm talking about rebuilding confidence because it's usually the emphasis on the fact that your confidence has taken a hit. It's an excellent confidence strategy, whether you're building or rebuilding confidence. How you show up makes a difference. The reality is we are perceived first. As soon as you walk in, people may come to some sort of conclusion. Yes, you may challenge that conclusion, but how you show up makes a difference. And for me, it was literal suits. I love suits all along. I might wear dresses and other things, but part of it was showing up in a suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Literally
you
suit
say,
up. And the different
yeah, Adara and I have talked about this. There's always someone, if we were in person, one of y'all would have raised your hands and said, I shouldn't have to do that. You're right. But we do, right? Especially if you're a woman of color. Maybe you are used to wearing military uniform every single day, and now you're having to get used to a new wardrobe and what you're doing. How you show up, people will judge you. They can say they don't, but they do. So suit up, whatever that suit up is in your line of work. Be the best dressed person there.
show up the way you want to be received. Show
Yeah,
up in a way that makes you feel powerful.
absolutely. And whatever that is to you, whatever that is to you. The show your work, again, it goes with manage up really is, write the memo, do the work. Show your work is, kind of what you used to have to do in math, right? But to me, it's what you have to do everywhere. If you're in any sort of client service industry, you got to tell those people what you're doing. If you're new to a company and you do kind of work that's kind of back office, or maybe it's a slog and maybe people don't understand, tell them. Tell them about the work you do and how it benefits them, because humans are inherently selfish. So you got to put it back there. Talk about your elephant. This is the one that we would do if we had more time. I'd make you sit down and think about what's the biggest insecurity you have. What is the biggest insecurity you have in the workplace? Is it that English is your second language? Is it that you have a real bad Southern accent? Is it that you don't look like everyone else there? Are you the only woman? Are you the only man? Are you the only LGBTQ person there? What is it? Think about it and find a way to, depending on how you're comfortable, playfully address it or seriously address it. I get this a lot from particularly women. They're worried about some perceived notion. And I usually say at the start of talks, I'm from the South and I'm a tiny blonde, and I'm a force to be reckoned with. And I take it all out. I just take it all out, right? So talk about your elephant and then stop saying you're sorry. The shortest way to tell this story is that I led a very high profile meeting with high profile people. And I apologized to this group of people for feeling like I was kind of nagging them about something. But it was my job to remind them to do the thing that would keep them out of trouble. So I said, "Hey, I'm sorry to have to remind you of this." And I went on. And this man that I didn't know crossed the room, powerful man, I mean, I knew of him. And he said, "Hey," introduced himself to me, and he said, "You seem real smart. You got to stop saying you're sorry. It undermines all of your credibility." And I was like, "Oh, first of all, thank you, stranger man, for crossing the room to tell a stranger about something that undermined their credibility to support them. We should all be doing that for each other." And then I truly, maybe 3 times I've apologized in a meeting since then. It was powerful. And it is something that women in particular often do. So the love is in these details. And Dara and I both would encourage you to get in there and figure out which of these you could do. And this is always a part of my talk. It's just Adara's here. I always say, you need to read Adara's book. You need to read this book. I am the most confident person I know. And I was more confident after reading that book. I learned things that I could do better and that I could stop doing, start doing because I read this book. But to be clear, I love Adara's voice. And so I listened to the audiobook. I did not get the print version. But the audiobook is amazing because it's her voice. So this is a QR code to the actual book. You need to read it. Again, professional development. This is a learned skill, man. So we're going to get into it.
And always evolving.
Yes. Yes.
Always evolving. Thank you so much, Margie.
Yeah, this is where I turn it over to you. Do you want my Let's Chat slide or no?
I love everything. Did you ask a question?
Well, do you want this slide, or do you want me just to stop sharing and let you do your thing?
Yes, let's stop sharing so that we can fill the screen.
On it.
And have a conversation with the people. Thank you, Margie. I love everything that you shared and made some of the points that you made, especially at the beginning. You talked about having naysayers and people literally telling you that you would fail. Ebbs and flows. It's always important to hear. I think sometimes when people encounter challenges, it might come across as so discouraging and it feels so personal. It's helpful to hear that we all go through it through varying degrees, that there will be people and people are entitled to their opinion. And sometimes it's even well-meaning people. They sincerely are thinking, I don't know, this might be too much for you. How did you call it? Give yourself your own pep talk. And it helps to, similar to setting your intention, having your goal in mind. When you know what it is that you want to accomplish, you keep that as your goal and you keep focusing on that. One of the questions that came up in the chat that's relevant because of our format here was from someone.
There's a lot of chat going on.
It's chat, but questions belong in the Q&A. So if you haven't put your question in there, that's where I will be pulling.
Okay.
One of the questions that came up was about tips for maintaining your charisma through a screen, which is so relevant. Look at the format that we're on, and some people will not be in the same office with your colleagues, your coworkers at any given point. So how do you maintain your charisma through a screen?
So
from Kiara.
Thank you, Kiara. Oh, that's a good one because of the world we live in now. I am very aware of my space and my posture and my light, and I literally have a candle burning. And I've got water and I've got light and I've got a big, monitor. I have my door closed. I have the front door to the office locked. Like I'm trying to keep as many things from distracting me. Turn off your phone, turn off notifications. And then what I do, and y'all can tell me if it's good or bad, it's what I've always done. I keep my screen, like I make it be where I can see what I'm doing on the screen and I get it as close to the camera as I can. And I'm looking into my own eyes as I talk. And then because Adara's picture earlier is so smiley and wonderful, her face was bringing me joy. But I keep it up here as close to the top as I can. And I sit on the edge of my chair. Like I know you can't see it, but I'm on the very edge of my seat so that I don't, like if you start doing some of this, it's just you're not engaged. And so I make sure that I'm sitting on the edge of my seat and I'm looking at myself. I'm not actually looking up here. I'm looking right here. And so I can tell, oh, I haven't smiled in a while. Oh, I need to do this or that. That's harder if you're managing the chat and you're worried about different things. So, that one is where I would always ask, try to have somebody in there helping you on chat. But I always get as close to the screen as I can and I keep my face up here and I look into my own eyes.
Virtual self-awareness.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, one of the questions that came to mind before was how to maintain authentic communication style while adapting to different corporate cultures or industries.
Mm.
This, when you mentioned sharing your elephant and kind of talking about what might feel vulnerable to some people, but allows you to lean in an authentic way, this was the other thing that came to mind, because it feels like to fit in a manner of speaking,
Mm.
people sometimes have to lose that authentic style. So how does one maintain that, especially considering different environments?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think this is where the confidence comes in, that you've got to do the work on yourself to know what your authenticity is, and to know which parts of it are appropriate. Because there are some parts of your authenticity that aren't appropriate in a work setting. And so if you're like, well, I'm most authentic when I've got like this insane, kind of like Gen Z speak, or I've got this, this crazy deep, cultural references, and I want to be able to, that's my authentic. I would say none of that is probably going to be relevant in the workplace. So you'd have to figure out how to be you. For example, everyone said when I got into the workplace, you're going to have to lose your Southern accent. And I was like, no, no, absolutely not. This is who I am. And so there's some of it where I can have a Southern accent and be authentic in the workplace and still communicate in a way that's relevant in a work environment. That one is doing the work really for me to determine what of my authenticity belongs in the workplace and what does not. Adara, how would you answer that question?
I love the example that you gave about accents, mainly because just earlier on today, I was speaking to someone, they cocked their head to the side. I already knew what question was coming. Where are you from? And if I try to sound American, I'm just gonna make it awkward. This has gradually evolved over time, and now I can speak in American, sound largely American, but it took a while, and it had to be normal, it had to be natural. If I shifted my focus to trying to sound American before my speech pattern evolved, I would have made it more awkward, and I would probably ironically start to look like I couldn't actually speak English. So I love your response about deciding which elements you want to bring in so that you're being authentic, and also recognizing where the message that you're sending is important. I used to tell my team, bring your best self to work. There was a lot of messaging about bring your whole self. And I said, look at my eyes. You don't want everybody's whole self in here. Do we really? We write policies about some people's whole selves. Bring your best self to work and be yourself. By all means, do your best in the workplace. Don't lose those elements that make you you, and yet also be mindful of everyone else in the workplace.
I love that. And, I think it's easier for me to say, because I'm, a white female. There are many, and I'm from, Nashville. And so I think there are other people who are like, yeah, you can do that, but I can't. And I recognize that. However, there are ways that you can kind of meet in the middle with that candor,
Yes.
and authenticity. It requires critical thinking, to really think about what is my best self and what are
Yes.
parts that are better off at home, and that I can still be me.
And that feeling of I can't, or people don't feel like it's safe to, is definitely rooted in
Mhm.
something. It also brings me back to leadership as action, because you often won't discover unless you take the action. Do it. And on the other side, you'll discover what there is. But if you eliminate some of those things before actually taking the action, you don't discover what's the lesson on the other side of it. So it doesn't always feel safe, and it's grounded in reality. There's something that made you think, I don't know if I can
Sure.
say this like me, do this like me. It's valid, it's grounded in something. That balance, like you said, some of it you'll just have to try out and find out on the other end.
Sure. Sure. And
Now this,
Adara, I know I see a question. Is it okay if I jump in there on this one?
I
Because
wonder if it's Yoshiko's question
yes,
about
it
this.
is.
I know, that was the next one. Yes, please.
Okay,
Take
this
it
is
away.
so good. All right, read the question. Adara's got it.
How do we admit your misjudgment if you stop saying sorry? I love it. I hear the
Such a good question.
accountability already. Love it.
I am so glad you said something. I'm so glad you said something. There are two things here. One is apologizing when you've done nothing wrong. There was no misjudgment. It was that I wasn't owning my power and my right to do my job because these people were really powerful. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry for taking up space. And I hadn't done anything wrong. They're literally paying me to sit there and tell them these things to keep them from saying the wrong thing in front of the media or something like that, right? So there wasn't misjudgment. It was that I was becoming small out of the self awareness that I was taking up space and maybe it wasn't my place to. If you really have done something wrong, your judgment was skewed, you did a thing and you wish you had not, and you are sorry. Saying you're sorry is magic and not one of those halfway sorries, not if you were offended, I'm sorry. No, no, I offended you, I am sorry, or I was wrong. I think the most important thing is you don't have to be right, you have to get it right. And so if you show people around you that you don't have to be right, that when you're wrong, you can say it, when you're sorry, you will say it because you did something to be sorry for, that's leadership, that's confident communication, and it's showing others around you it's safe to do that as well. But the example I used was I hadn't done anything wrong. They were paying me to coach them, and I was lacking confidence in taking up space. And so I'm glad you asked because those are two different things.
Absolutely. Excellent question. Excellent. Here's one from Delvina. How do you break the ice in a space you're a part of, but don't necessarily feel welcome?
Ooh, is there a way to ask someone why they don't feel welcome?
She gave context. It's an excellent question. She gave context.
Okay.
I'm a young Black woman. I have a lot of experience for my age. Sometimes people feel intimidated without me doing anything or attempt to hold me to stereotypes that don't apply to me. I just want to feel welcomed and for my work to be seen in a good way.
Ooh, that's a good one. And I'm sorry you're going through that, Delvina. Adara, do you want to take it at first? I want to think.
Absolutely. I can start with a little bit of sometimes I realize in retrospect, and part of it is what led to my writing a book, was that some of this people didn't expect you to be in this space is happening anyway. And usually becoming aware of it is more that your confidence is already impacted. And maybe it's because you've been around it a lot. It might be happening where people question you, people doubt you. In itself, it happens. It's human nature. It becomes that much more important to do the things that fortify your confidence, that allow you to do the thing that you came there to do anyway. When I was a relatively new leader, one of the things that helped me was going in prepared, making sure I'd read all the things that needed to be done, making sure that I knew what the answers were, because whether it turned social or not, and I love social settings, I just love being able to come in and laugh and crack jokes, and we talk a little bit about the family and so on, but I didn't have that at the beginning. What I did have was the quality of my work, and so I really leaned into it and got to know people one by one, and over time, they really became sincere relationships. They weren't just superficial, and that grew over time, and the space felt more welcoming with time. That was my specific scenario. Margie, what do you think?
I love that. I think the thing I do, I'm just trying to think about, I mean, get curious, I think is how I would phrase it. People will really loosen up when you start getting them to talk about themselves. So if you feel like you're in a room and maybe it's networking or maybe it's right before a meeting, asking other people questions about their career, about their experience with XYZ, just anything to get them talking, then they're going to hear you talking as a person and not as whatever is in their head or stereotype. I don't know what it's like to walk in as a woman of color in a space and feel that way. I do know what it's like to feel like just a woman in a space like that and feel that way. And so when I feel that way, I get real curious about other people, and that way they'll talk to me and they'll get to know me more and trust me more because I'm just letting them talk about themselves.
That's so good. Get curious. And that was advice that someone gave me fairly early on. The way that it happened was sharing about, just get to know people and talk about it. It's like, I'm here to talk about really serious things. I don't feel like chit chatting, but that really was the connection. I said, okay, we'll chat outside the room. And then when we come in, we'll talk business. Get curious. That's awesome. But paying attention to people. This might be a natural segue. How do you make sure you're not misinterpreting your own discomfort and faults for someone else being toxic?
Oh,
Good one, Chris.
Oh, that's a good one. I feel like the first thing that comes to my mind on this is the first time someone is rude to me or interrupts me or belittles me or kind of waves me off, I give them grace. The first time, if you don't know my boundary or you don't know what the situation is and you're stereotyping me or you're doing whatever you're doing and you're being rude, or if it's the first time, I give you grace because I haven't set the boundary or you don't know me or maybe you're having a bad day. You do it the second time after I have set the boundary or if I've established my credentials or I've established that I am the person in this space. Now you're showing me a little bit about who you are. And so to me, I do wish we'd all give each other a little more grace on the first one. And if you are seeing that it's a pattern of it wasn't just a bad day, it wasn't because they didn't know who I was, it wasn't because it's the first time they've ever interacted with a woman or a man or someone from the military or whatever in this space, then listen to, if they're showing you who they are, then believe them. And it's always easier to find a new job when you have a job. And so you start the search. You need to work your village. You need to know the network, and then you need to ask more questions. Stay curious when you're interviewing for other jobs or to work on other teams. Ask about that culture and make sure it's right. Those are the first things that come to mind.
I love the proactive approach. It's so important. You live, you learn. How about this one? What do you think about communication style guides like DISC and Myers-Briggs?
I don't know that I have anything interesting to say on it because I think they're cool, but I don't use them in practice. Adara, do you use them in practice, right?
Almost every leadership program that I've gone to will do the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and others will do strength finders. I see them as part of building self-awareness. And a lot of people have done it, so it can also be a conversation starter. I use DISC, and I've enjoyed using DISC as well in telling people about or kind of tuning into preferred styles at work.
Mhm.
And it just helps you to learn yourself better, and you also learn how to work with other people.
Yeah.
All right. Can you speak to the role that vulnerability plays in confident leadership communication, especially as a woman? I wonder when it's appropriate to show it and when it's not appropriate. That's from Margaret.
Okay. Here, I will say this one based on, again, y'all, I mean, Adara and I could just talk to each other all day. One time we were having lunch, or maybe, I don't know where we were. And Adara said about me, Margie, you hold both joy and power.
Round
And
table.
it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And to me, at first people will judge the joy. And for me, the vulnerability is the joy. So you may be referring to more of a not joyful vulnerability, and we can speak to that as well. But the joy piece, a lot of women in the workplace will tamper down their joy or their smiles or their enthusiasm or the creativity because maybe they're in a man's space and they feel like they need to be, more traditional manly. I find my superpower in confidence building comes because I'm joyful, and also I am a force to be reckoned with. I do walk into a room with power, but joyful power. And so I really believe that you can hold both and show up as both. Now, for the sad or the flustered or the vulnerability that you're uncertain or you're upset, I grew up at a time where you couldn't show it. I'm 45, so I would get upset. I'd have to run and cry in the bathroom and then come back in. But I always came back in. And I always had the questions I was going to ask, the phone a friend of the person I needed to call to go, how do I do this thing? I've just been tasked this thing. I don't know what to do. I always relied on my village. And then I would always manage up to the person and say, hey, I appreciate your feedback. That was really hard for me because of the way you delivered it. Next time, if you could do this, or next time, could we do that? I always gave feedback on how it landed if it was appropriate to do so. I'm an easy crier and I'm an angry crier. So when I feel myself doing that, I have to step away.
Mhm.
But emotion is good. Discomfort, all the things, they're
Absolutely.
good and they're human. So I don't know how you can be operating with as Adara said, showing up as your best self if you don't show vulnerability. I don't know how you can do that with your team, with each other. You have to be able to say, hey, I'm having a hard time right now, or hey, I really need help with this, or hey, I am crying in the bathroom. Could you help me figure this out?
Yeah.
I think that's part of being human.
We might be able to get a couple more in. This
Okay,
is what
we'll
happens.
talk fast.
Time
We have
flies.
4 minutes.
So Nicole says, I find that when speaking, I can say the word like a lot. Any suggestions on how to eliminate that? And like is
Yeah.
one example,
But you're not going to like it. Who said it? You're not going to like it.
Nicole.
Whoever, Nicole, you're not going to like it. You need to listen to yourself talk. You need to watch and listen to yourself talk. I'm so sorry. And I'm going to say I'm sorry because I feel like I've done you wrong by saying that. It is the way. So what I do is first of all, you're never going to be done with filler words. Mine is so. I listen to myself and figure out how I can be more attuned. You're going to get on a voice memo on your phone and you're going to give a 3-minute talk about something. Maybe it's something at work. Maybe it's something you've wanted to say to a spouse or a family member. I don't care what it is. You are going to go through that and then you're going to listen and you're going to be like, oh, okay. I said like 4 times. I'm going to do it again. The goal is not no filler words. None of us are on stage enough for that to be a thing. The goal is less filler words because those make you look more confident. You also could record yourself on Zoom, play it back. You could record yourself on just the phone, on video. You have to watch and listen to yourself. I know it is uncomfortable and it's awful. You have to do it to get rid of those filler words.
That ties also to the point you made about practice. It's
Oh.
another way of practicing. As soon as you identify something you want to do better, you practice. All right, I think I can squeeze one more in. And
Okay.
this is a general question. It says, in today's climate with reduction in force and layoffs, what's your advice on how and what to say when interviewing with recruiters about why and what happened? So that's more of a what.
Oh, if
communication.
one was laid off,
Yes.
I find honesty. I find honesty works. First of all, if you're honest, you don't have to worry about what you told them or what they find if they Google you. Everybody, I mean, I struggle to think of people who haven't been laid off or fired at some point in their life. And it is a natural thing to happen. It sucks. And most people can identify with it. So to have your story, tell your story, what's the most important lesson you learned from that? You're going to take action. You're constantly improving. It can't just be, well, I got laid off. It's got laid off and I learned this lesson that I am ready to apply to the next place. Showing that, even though it's a very traumatic thing to be laid off or fired, showing that you are resilient and you're learning from it is really what a hiring manager would look for, and that honesty of this is what happened.
Absolutely. Now, Chris asked a question about self-awareness. We've touched on this, but we can wrap up with this one. What is the importance of self-awareness in communication?
It's the bedrock of it. As you always say, any parents out there, I'm sure you're saying to your kids when they complain about the behavior of someone else, well, you can only control your own actions. And in communication, that's true. If you talk too fast, if you talk too slow, if you don't have any emotion, if you don't ever want to use adjectives because someone told you they were bad, if you use too much slang because it's your comfort zone, that is all stuff you can control, but you have to be self-aware to understand it. Maybe you need a coach. Maybe you need a therapist. It could be anything you need to get you over that mental block. But the self-awareness bit is the only thing you can control. If you're a control freak like me, you love to hear that because that means you can do something about it. It is also asking for very candid feedback. When you give a presentation, when you have a meeting, when you are doing annual reviews, ask for feedback back. What can I do better to help me with my self-awareness? I have been told, we don't have time, we have 10 seconds left, but I have been told some really serious things from managers that I had in my early years. And those candid conversations changed my trajectory because they were honest with me and helped me be more self-aware. And that's the greatest gift someone can give you and that you can give yourself.
Thank you, Margie. And we're right at 6 o'clock. I'll hand it back to
We did
Nancy.
it.
Yes.
And I just want
Always
to ask
a
the team,
pleasure.
can you keep the chat? Like, don't disconnect us right away because I want to read the things people wrote.
That is great. And if you want to stay on for a moment after, that's fine too. But we want to just be respectful of everyone's time. I think if you could hear the warm applause, people loved this dialogue. They learned a lot. It was very relevant, regardless of, I think, both for personal and professional guidance. So just want to say a big thank you to Margie and Adara. I love working with you in the community. And, you were just definitely the dynamic duo for this topic, and we might have to have a follow-up session on this one. I'm sure our audience would love that. But here's QR codes so you can get a hold of both of them. I know they're active on LinkedIn as well. Let's go ahead before we lose everyone. Quick, I want to share, we have a really exciting next speaker for our speaker series with Stedman Graham. And that's in just 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will have Mr. Stedman Graham. He's a best-selling author, speaker, and educator, and his topic he speaks on is identity leadership. I have heard him before. He's really great. He's former military. He's done a lot in leadership. He has spoken to every type of audience you can imagine. So please don't miss out on the next speaker series with Stedman. We'll have that information out to everyone as well, so you can register. One more slide, and I just want to be able to share. We have some exciting things coming up at NU, a blood drive. There's always a shortage of blood at our LA campus. We've got a topic on Wednesday, Bridging the Gap, Navigating Life After Military Service, and that will be a hybrid at our NU Spectrum Center. For all of you who enjoy networking, we have Navigator Networking for Navi, our mascot for NU. We will also, just so you know, in September, we were having people register for the San Diego Heart and Stroke Walk if you'd like to join us. And then also a career transition seminar with Trevor Blair, which will be offered at our NU Scripps Ranch. So again, just love to have a warm round of virtual applause for Margie and Adara. Fabulous job. Thank you, Heather, Lindsay, and Diane, for supporting our speaker series. We just continue to have fabulous episodes like this. Lots of you will listen to it again. And certainly we will share this link with all of you in case you missed anything. So thanks again. Appreciate your time. Really respect it. And I hope that you've taken away some golden nuggets from this conversation. Thank you on behalf of National University. Okay, Margie and Adara, did you want to add anything before we've still got some people hanging on?
Wonderful. I was
Yeah.
just going to ask a couple of housekeeping questions. Again, I really do want to read through these questions and through these comments before it like goes away. So that's one reason I'm staying. I want to also ask, is there a way that when you all send the link out, can we have the links to all the things that was shared, the resources, Adara's book, all of that with it, or can it be on the show notes page where you house it? Because a lot of people were saying
we
they
can
couldn't.
share that, whether it's within the video, or we can add that in addition
Okay.
to the video, because I think a lot of people were looking, they'd like direct links rather
That's
than
great.
the QR code, so we can share that information.
That's great.
Yes, we
Oh.
will pull those links and make sure that they're in the thank you email that goes out tomorrow to everyone who registered, and that will
Cool.
include the recording as well. And Margie, I'm happy to send you a copy of the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know I recognize a lot of names. I just wanted to see who's there, and that some of them were talking to me, and I was like, I can't read it. So I just want to make sure that if someone's was reaching out, that I know about it.
Yeah,
Right.
And
do
we
get
still
all
have
the-
46 participants. So is there any additional words of wisdom you'd like to give to this group before we close out?
What you got, Adara? Besides, everybody go read Adara's book. That's one.
Thank you, Margie. Looking at the questions, because we didn't get to all of them.
I know.
Richie asked, do you use AI, Grammarly, or other assistants to prep for communicating? I think everyone uses some form of LLM for written communication at this point.
I use Grammarly. I didn't like. I felt it was cumbersome in all my browsers and all my things, and so I turned it off. But a lot of people that work here in Tessa, they dig it. I do enjoy ChatGPT. For me, if I'm having a tone problem, if someone's asking me a question and I can feel myself getting kind of rude, I will ask the robot to tell me a more pleasant, thoughtful way to say what I want to say. I don't use it as the basis of my work, very often, but I do love it for what am I forgetting? Give me a recap of this. I do really enjoy ChatGPT and things like that to kickstart my brain or help me think about it differently, but I don't use it as a sole work product. And I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're in any sort of communications
Mhm.
space, because your brain and the uniqueness you bring as a human to your project, the robot can't do that right
Right,
now.
right.
So I would encourage you, of course, use these tools, but don't solely rely on them because you're leaving that lived experience out.
Yeah. You want to retain your voice in it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I use ChatGPT and Claude AI,
Hmm.
both very useful.
Love that.
Lois wanted to know if I used a program or routine to overcome accent elephant. No. So I'm just going to speak and endeavor to have people understand, and I will sound more American over time, but the point was not to try to make myself sound any different than I
Mhm.
already did, because it would become a distraction for me. I would take away from the point that I was making.
That's right.
Yoshiko also asked about nearly native English speaker, English language learner. Um, do you have any tips to show confidence? In other words, speech occasionally includes an error, which may not impact the overall meaning, but I, as a speaker, do not feel good,
Mm.
not confident in speaking, which might also be, maybe it's also from a reaction that you have received.
I would say, Yoshiko, do you say out loud? So I had a colleague who really struggled with this, and I was helping her with more of the body language in presenting. I couldn't help with the accent, right? But it really was a mental block. And so I started asking her just to say it, to, again, address the elephant. Hey, English is my second language. And so sometimes I will struggle to find the words, but I want you to know my comprehension is off the charts. So it may take me a minute. I may mix up a word or two. She even had a bingo. She set up for colleagues on what word that she might get mixed up, and it was with joy and with love, and that's also how she learned more words. So it was a safe space for her to play with this and get her confidence, but she led with it. I want you to know I have a very broken English accent, but not up here. And sometimes that's what people needed to hear for their own judgment. I've never struggled with that, but I did help her think of some fun ways to play on it, and that's what she ended up doing.
That's a great one.
I thought it was interesting when you talked about the jacket. So I was
Oh.
in an environment where I wore suits until probably about 5 years ago. And
Mm.
while you were speaking, I put a jacket on rather than my sweater. But I also
Okay.
have, I have
I have
my,
friends who, when they see me coming, they take off their cardigan because they know I hate it. So
no,
just
and I usually wear a jacket and that's more comfortable for me. But my mother always brought me up to overdress instead of underdress.
yes.
She had 5 girls and that was the lesson.
Mm.
But also I'm usually sometimes more dressed up than colleagues. So that's why sometimes, especially in the summer, if I'm not going to an external event, if I'm in the office as I am today, I might put on a cardigan
Yeah.
instead. But
Just
for
don't let me
for
see you, is all I gotta
yeah,
say.
for 40 years, I was in a suit and we were encouraged to wear black suits, navy blue suits, or gray suits, period.
Mhm.
And, if people want to, show a little bit more, be more colorful and, diverse in their dress, I think that's fine. But it depends on where you're going and what your audience is for that day too.
That's true. It's
True.
all about reading the room. But
Yes.
my issue was my office before this one, a couple office buildings ago, flooded. And I was talking to this man on the phone, and I do have a very, a voice that commands authority. And so he had a vision of who was on the phone, and I rolled up to assess the flood damage. And I was wearing my cute pink cardigan and my fun little pants, and I just was adorable. And he was like, "Oh, that's great that you're here. I need to speak to the woman who's running the show." And I was like, "It's my show." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Like he was taken aback with my cardigan, and I have not put on a cardigan since. Like even in casual settings, like I can't make myself do it. And so you'll have those things. I'm still authentically me. I'm gonna rock a color. I'm gonna do but I'm not going to wear something that makes me look like I work for someone else. I want you to know that it's my show.
Fair enough. And I can tell we do have a lot of audience that needs to get back to their family, and it's getting pretty late on the East
Got it.
Coast. Ladies, you were fabulous. I think we need to have you back again, Adara. I think people would love to hear more about your book. So thank you so much. Very successful evening for all those who listened, and really appreciate that you helped promote the event. And please join us for Stedman Graham in 2 weeks on August 6th.
Yes, that sounds so fun. And thank
It
you, Heather,
does.
for sending me chat when you can, because I do. I'm dying to read all this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Good to see you.
Have a good
Have a
evening.
good night.